and thank you all for joining us in a conversation on the future of the Roberts Court. My name is Gabe Roth. I'm the executive director of Fix the Court, and we're a grassroots group that advocates for a more open and accountable U.S. Supreme Court. I also want to say a special hello to the folks at the Supreme Court press room right now watching this event via live stream, anxiously waiting to see how many boxes the Supreme Court staff puts out. That's an indication as to how many opinions are coming down at 10 o'clock this morning. And don't worry, we'll all have you out of here by then, so you can log on to SCOTUS blog and see what's up if you're not able to get to the court. So I'm a big music fan, and in the music industry, lead singers of major bands, they often front other bands, right? So it's their side projects, like they're called. Eric Clapton's had Derek and the Dominoes, Eddie Vedder had Temple of the Dog, Jack White had the Raconteurs. So Fix the Court, nonpartisan grassroots advocacy group on opening up the Supreme Court. We have a side project called Come to Terms. Come to Terms is the sponsor of today's discussion, and it advocates for end-of-life tenure at the Supreme Court, and we're calling on the next nominee to the Supreme Court to pledge to serve a single term of 18 years. Now, why 18 years? Well, we think it's only fair that each president gets a nominee or two, and so if you have a standard nomination every 2 years, and there are 9 justices, it'll take 18 years to cycle through the court. 18 years, we believe, is plenty of time for the justices to learn the ropes, have some important decisions under their belt without becoming too out of touch with modern society. So with gridlock in Congress and between the executive and legislative branches, the Supreme Court has truly become the most powerful institution in the country, and no one should hold that much power for 30 or 35 years. It's completely undemocratic. But what can be done to restore balance between the branches and to restore trust in our nation's highest court? I mentioned term limits a moment ago, but I don't believe there's a single solution. We in this room should advocate for other reasonable safeguards to protect our democracy against the abuses the current system encourages. The way things stand now, the justices don't have to publicly disclose their conflicts of interest. They don't have to explain the reasons they recused from a case. They don't have to name their travel benefactors. They don't place their annual disclosure reports online. And they don't announce their out-of-court appearances to the press. And finally, they refuse to give access to everyday Americans by banning electronic media inside the courtroom. They can watch me now via this live stream, but we can't watch them unless you're one of the 50 people who's lucky enough to get a ticket to get inside on argument day or opinion announcement day. And lastly, of course, the system of lifetime appointments, Come to Terms, puts immense pressure on the justices to participate in partisan gamesmanship, timing their retirements for when a like-minded president holds office and when a like-minded justice could make it through the Senate. So right now, where it stands, a majority of Americans, according to a poll we just did, believe the current slate of justices makes their decisions based on personal ideologies instead of what the law dictates. Now, without transparency, without accountability, and without a basic structure preventing party preference from wholly determining who sits on the bench, it's no wonder the American people have expressed distrust in the Supreme Court. But our democracy deserves better. In this country, we have a proud tradition of scrutinizing and updating our government institutions to preserve and strengthen our principles. But the last time we made a significant change to the Supreme Court was in 1869 when we decided that 9 was the number of justices that should sit on the bench, and we're good with 9, but it's been a long time since there's been a major change. So, as we near the end of June and the final days of the Supreme Court term, we hope to drive a discussion right here, not just lamenting the partisan divide between the conservative and liberal justices or which day, June 29th, the court will decide Obamacare, it'll be 5-4, but giving real consideration to what actually can be done to bring the institution in line with basic expectations of transparency and accountability from public officials. And with that, I'd like to bring Liz back up to introduce the panel. Thank you, everyone.